First of all, I want to thank the organizers of this year's session and forum, particularly the Secretary of Agriculture. Thank you so much for lending your support to this effort. I'm going to spend a little bit of time this morning before you leave just to highlight some of the reasons why these opportunities to get together and to listen to distinguished speakers like we just heard from Dr. Shand and from our other distinguished speakers here in the audience, as well as from across the spectrum of Indian agriculture, the stakeholders, the researchers, government officials, and colleagues from the various attachés here in New Delhi. But first of all, I want to thank Dr. Prasad and Mr. Bodh for putting so much effort into making this a success year after year. I think, judging by our participation, the growth and the interest in this, and the discussion of the topics is very important, and I just want to take a minute just to thank you again. My first comments today are basically on where our Ag Outlook Forum started and where we're at today, and I think it allows me to highlight some of the important things that we'll hear over the next couple of days. And I think I wanted to motivate this talk by sort of pointing out why, for example, the Office of the Chief Economist in USDA is responsible for putting on our forum, one of the larger seminars that USDA puts on. And there are a couple reasons from economic perspective, certainly. I just want to say goodbye to the Secretary again.
Thank you so much.
So for those of you that are economists in the audience, of course we talk about market failures and where economics and the role of government should be, and certainly these two fundamental concepts, looking at the dissemination of research and expenditures and investment in research and development in agriculture, we know provides a lot of returns to society, and in addition, the provision of public goods such as statistics and economic information and forecasts of production, consumption, and prices is something that is clearly will be open to government to provide to the public for no charge, of course. And of course, in a place like a forum like this, we're able to put out and talk about numbers and statistics, as Dr. Chand has brought up, in terms of whether or not we think that the estimates that we're discussing are legitimate, or whether there are some concerns or caveats that we need to mention with respect to those. And before moving on, I'll just point out that in your bulletin here today, I was just looking, if you look at the back page, you'll see what the objectives of the Directorate of Economics and Statistics is, and I'll just quote here from from this document. The mission is to provide important information on agricultural. Is it not showing? Oh. 1 second. Agricultural statistics like area production, yield of principal crops, minimum support prices, monitor the wholesale prices of ag commodities, implement schemes related to improvement of agricultural statistics, and carrying out agroeconomic research studies. So again, as we've heard from both the Secretary as well as the distinguished speaker prior to myself, these are important topics that we're discussing here, and it is the mission of the Directorate to provide an opportunity for us to discuss them in a forum like this. So. All right, now I can move on to the slides. Just a brief history of our Ag Outlook Forum at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. It's our oldest and longest running meeting. It serves a lot of purposes, but over the last 95 years, our forum has served as this platform for key participants in our agricultural system to discuss current and emerging issues, policies, exchange ideas, and highlight some industry breakthroughs in food and livestock production. So our Ag Outlook Forum began in 1923, and it was primarily intended to provide our national forecast to producers in the field. so that they could develop their farm management strategies. And it served as mostly an extension tool and as a link between USDA forecasters and farmers that were facing difficult planning decisions. And the goal obviously was to transmit the economic information developed in Washington through the economic forecasting to farmers, so they had tools to plan for and expect market signals ahead and to avoid production beyond demand. So some of the same topics that we're hearing about today were faced by and still faced by producers in the United States and decision makers in Washington. Over time, we can see that the report, oftentimes our forum is centered around the provision of new information for the new crop year, was brought directly to farmers at a number of events, and I'm sure that you have the opportunity to do similar here in India, and to a much larger group of farmers. I would suggest, if we're talking about 140 million farmers, there's a lot of consumers for this information, and a lot of ways to provide that information in ways that producers can use through radio and later television. And we expanded our survey to also account for how this information was being used by extension agents and the like in regional areas around the country. Over time, and by 1960, the National Ag Conference capped a system of state outlook programs and regional conferences. The material developed at the seminars had been used by economists and extension specialists at various universities across the country, and by various regional state governments to provide their own forecasts specific to their producers in their regions. Now it's a place for bringing together independent commercial interests to offer opportunity for stakeholders from all over the United States and from the globe to come together. Typically, we draw roughly 1,500 attendees each year from all different components of the agricultural system. And of course, with technology, that has expanded the reach to be able to present material through the internet and through various social media platforms to provide that information that's presented in the conference, and also to allow that material to be downloaded and utilized in other venues across the globe. For example, the presentations from last year's forum were downloaded almost 70,000 times in just the 2 months following the event. Now, who participates? Well, we keep track of this. It just shows this changes over time. But last year we had stakeholders attending from a number of the private sector and government, including cooperatives, various farm associations, those in the ag industry, those at the universities in education and research, consultants, investment banks, state governments, futures trading platforms. And of course, we had a number of participants from within the U.S. government, including many from the USDA itself, but its various member agencies, including the Foreign Ag Service, the Agricultural Marketing Service, the Economic Research Service, obviously my office, the Office of Chief Economist, the Plant and Health Inspection Service, National Institutes of Food and Agriculture, and other USDA agencies, including those from Congress, those from the Office of Management and Budget, and other government accounting office who are interested in hearing about the various sessions. And just like we'll hear today and tomorrow at your Outlook session, there are a number of topical sessions that are focused on issues that are just emerging. And we heard, of course, there is the desire to show forecasts that go out 5 to 10 years, but of course we know that in any given year there's going to be issues that are rising to the top that are causing policymakers to have to respond quickly to protect both producer interests as well as consumer interests. Last year we had roughly 100 speakers from different agencies and organizations, a variety of sessions. We saw a picture on the front earlier of the Secretary of Agriculture meeting with the Secretaries of Agriculture from Canada and Mexico, talking about the prospects for a new agreement, USMCA, replacement of NAFTA, which is a huge regional trading agreement that we have with those countries. And of course, they were able to discuss that freely and openly in front of all those participants. And then, of course, there was time for question and answer, which was quite interesting to see. This is the first year that we allowed, or that we made available the ability to ask questions via smartphones. So we had smartphone questions coming in from the audience being projected on the screens in front of the ministers, and they were able to respond in real time to those questions. Of course, as I mentioned, we had sessions on a number of topical issues, including biotech, cellular meat, blockchain, and then some recent disasters in the United States that we'll probably talk a little bit more about here in the next, some of the sessions following with some of the experts we have here from USDA. An outlook for risk mitigation, new schemes for crop insurance, different forces that are shaping global trade today, and what the U.S. trade agenda is moving forward into the next year. Of course, that's a very topical interest of a lot of participants in both the U.S. as well as other agricultural systems. At its core, the forum facilitates information sharing, transparency that can lead to well-functioning and open markets. And of course, that is what the goal of your directorate here is, as well in providing a similar forum to be able to discuss these topics and the statistics that are being provided. But it also, of course, provides the sessions that we just discussed on cutting-edge topics, dialogue during the sessions, ability to network amongst the participants during breakout sessions and during coffee breaks and during lunch sessions that are extremely important for moving the research agenda forward and also moving forward in terms of making connections on different components of the ag system. So the USDA's Ag Outlook Forum has come a long way from where it started, from its early years as a conference designed to just disseminate market information for farmers. It continues to do that. It continues its long tradition of linking producers to information about the markets and policies that affect their livelihoods. Of course, today, just to highlight, it also provides a place for producers to meet with government and industry leaders. And of course, we would hope that the forum here continues to grow in strength and grow in interest and continues to solicit participation from farm groups and from farmers themselves as a place to come and ask questions and to discuss these topics with their policymakers. Of course, USDA is also investing in the future of the forum, and each year brings in a group of young farm leaders to provide their expertise and their observations about how programs and how their systems are functioning, their operations are functioning under the current farm policies that we have in place. So I'll just end and bring us back to schedule and just congratulate everyone here for coming and for the folks here up with me, Dr. Prasad and Mr. Bode, in putting together the forum this year. And we look forward to future collaborations in years to come and with the technical sessions to follow immediately after coffee break. So with that, I think I'll stop and we'll, adjourn for tea, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? Thank you very much.